Hello everyone, we're back with more Kirby. There's only two of us, me and Josh again, because everybody has very strange schedules. Curtis is just coming back from overseas and Rahul can't get here consistently and doesn't have a lot of time anyway.
Translation, Rahul doesn't like to do things.
Rahul has this thing where no matter what you try to get him to do, he simply won't get out of his house to do it. So it was sort of a miracle we got him for the first 3 episodes anyway. But yeah, it's just us, Kirby and Waddle Dee.
Alright, so I'll be playing as Waddle Dee. This is Josh.
Very good. I'm hoping that my sister can join later as maybe Meta Knight or another Kirby, but they're at Barnes & Noble right now, so they won't be back for a little bit.
So,
oh, is this first?
So yeah, in this episode we're going to be going over 2, 3, 2, 4, and the boss for 4.
That might be a bit more than 15 minutes though, Josh. Yeah. So Josh doesn't really want to do videos longer than 15 minutes. I'm okay with up to 20. But we're going to respect Josh's wishes because he is the guest in this situation.
I really couldn't hear less, honestly. I just don't
I'll take B. Secret rooms. So yeah, for those of you who want good gameplay, it's probably best that it's just me and Josh, because we're the only people who've actually finished this game.
Yeah, the other two were fun to have around, but yeah.
Also, Rahul refuses to speak for some reason. We've already covered that in the first 2 episodes, but... There's 3.
Oh no, he was good.
He wasn't in the third, you're right. You want to follow the one with the stars. There's nothing in the other ones. Just enemies. 1-ups. I seriously think that unless you are actively trying to get a game over, it is physically impossible to get one in a Kirby game.
Yeah, they make the games sort of easy.
It's funny because even though you'll never see the game over screen in Return of Dreamland, it's almost harder in some of the later Kirby games. In Kirby Star Allies, you get a 1-up less than a minute into the first level. It's actually kind of insulting.
The only time I can see you get a game over is the final boss when it's actually reasonably hard.
But by then you've already amassed so many lives it hardly matters. I want Tornado. Come back down. Tornado is completely uncontrollable, but it's fun, so...
It's one of the more useless ones, but it's fun nonetheless, so... Sure.
And I immediately have to get rid of its absorb. And then they give it right back for some reason. Yeah! Yeah, so Tornado, it sort of just bounces around everywhere. You can sort of influence where it's going, but not very well. And the instant it runs out, you'll get hit, as I just demonstrated. So there's a reason why it doesn't return very often. You can do up tornadoes, you can do down tornadoes, and if you shake the wheel remote, you'll do the hyper tornado, which when it ends does this big burst, but to be honest, you don't really use Tornado all that often. It could be good with maybe a couple extra moves, but as it is, it's not great.
This high jump Kirby, to my knowledge, you only see one other time in games. It's fairly useless.
It only has 2 moves, up jump, and down jump. You have up jump and slam.
They call it rocket time.
Probably. And you can charge the jump, but that only does more damage, it doesn't actually go higher.
No, it goes higher.
No, I'm pretty sure they go the same distance.
No, yeah, it goes higher. I'm pretty sure. Regardless, it does huge damage, so it's not really worth it. It's not really...
It's not a thing you'd ever use for bosses or anything that requires damage output.
You use it when they give it to you in that level.
You don't even need the metamato. Hey buddy. Oh, now that I have Fire Kirby, I want to show off a thing where you can literally catch yourself on fire.
Yeah, also pretty useless, but just fun to do.
I think this is one of my favorite moves with fire, this fire roll. Oh, something I should mention, if you hold down and 2, you'll do a slide kick, and that does do damage. Yes. Always face away from bosses when getting rid of power-ups, because if you face towards them, you'll eject the power-up in the wrong direction, and then if you accidentally inhale both your old power-up and the boss at the same time, you will collect the old power-up, and the boss's power-up will disappear. Which is one of the more annoying things about Return to Dreamland, is that if you fail to collect a mini-boss's power-up, or if you accidentally replace it with one that you already had, there's no way to get it back, so you have to redo the whole stage. I believe this is fixed in later Kirby games, where if you inhale both your old power-up and the bosses at the same time, you get the mini-bosses one's priority. But not in this game. Is there anything to the... Yeah, it goes the other way. Yeah, I think... Oh, it's just a few... It's just a star coin. You want to take that one immediately. You could wait for the Kingdom Balls to go past and then go, but you could just go straight for it anyway.
Oh, the end of 2-3.
Yeah, these levels go quickly, at least in the beginning. Some of the later levels will take a while, but for now they should be fine. Also, Josh, you should probably stay a consistent distance from the mic, otherwise your voice will cut in and out.
That's probably a good point.
I had issues with that for the first few Pikmin episodes. Also, for those of you who are actually watching these videos, you'll notice that they have thumbnails now. Before we were going with the default thumbnails that YouTube provided with us, but I have software that lets me actually build them. Also, those are Scarfies. They look innocent, but if you're holding an item or if you hit them once but don't kill them, they turn into that monstrosity and then they explode. So you have to platform quickly or have your friends hold it one or two. Bomb, I'll take bomb.
Bomb is a decent power, but it doesn't have so many moves.
It doesn't have as many moves, but they're useful. The ones it does have are very useful. So it's the sort of like, it's not complicated. Also, I love doing that because you can just place a bomb on their head and then they just die. It has basically bomb bowling, which is the dash attack, hold bomb, throw bomb, and if you hold down one, you can adjust the angle.
Yeah, show up how you can change the angle.
I'll have to do it on a stationary platform. So you just hold one, and the little arrow shows you about where it's going to go. Also, if you hold the bomb for a really, really long time, it'll self-destruct, which I think does damage to you, although I'm not entirely sure.
It does a bit of damage.
That's really only if you're just holding the bomb and, like, you spend way too long trying to aim it. You also, if you hold down and B, it'll just drop it in place, which is, like, basically laying mine, or you can drop it on enemies' heads. So that is some puzzle solving stuff. It's fire too.
Yeah, we're gonna have
Here's a demonstration of how it's supposed to be used. So Josh could solve this puzzle for me by holding down that switch. The red switches are time switches, but what you want to do instead is that's not close enough. You drop a bomb, you wait for it to explode, and then you dash in quickly.
Yeah.
So
we could have cheated on this one, so we have people, but
yeah, so I could just sit on top of it and let Bandana Waddle Dee just through.
yeah, but
Which is one of the advantages of multiple players, but
that kind of defeats the purpose of it.
it's a puzzle. Solve it with your puzzle-solving capabilities. It's not that hard anyway. Most of the puzzles in this game just require you to know power-up moves. Things like, do you know how to drop a bomb? Do you know how to spit water projectiles? Things like that. They're never all that complicated. Also, I should probably be going in to protect Bandana Waddle Dee.
Do you want to give or no?
I'm fine with bomb.
The fact they show 2 probably means that you need it. That's fine.
No. Generally, the rule in Kirby games is to pick up any power-up that you see. That one has a bat. That one... Oh no, it's just a naughty, but... Scarfy, die. And generally, in Kirby games, you want to pick up whatever power-up you see, but that's not always the case. Sometimes they'll just give you multiple power-ups, just if you want to choose between them. So the candle, you can't attack while holding the candle.
You can use this weapon.
You can throw it.
It's a weak weapon.
Any item that you can throw can be used as a weapon, but it does little damage and it's hard to aim. Also, this is one of the only cases in the entire game where they force you to fight a mini-boss, but there's an enemy right after that'll give you its power anyway, which is strange.
Probably the same thing.
See, this is a water Galboros, sorry. Also, this dash attack is by far one of the best B moves next to this. Hover in midair and actually eject power up and consume boss. So of course, there's fire blocks this way. Of course, water can destroy fire blocks. Makes sense. I meant down attack. No! Oh yeah, if power-ups hit things like spikes or obstacles that normally damage you, they'll instantly destroy themselves. And also, if you lose a power-up underwater, it'll destroy it. Why am I being dumb?
Just set up a platform.
There we go. There's not much this way, but there is stuff in the other direction. And what I said earlier, that boss gives you water, but for some reason, just up ahead, there'll be another enemy that gives you water. And this is the only time in the entire game where that happens. And the idea here is to use the projectile to delete the enemies down there. Those enemies, when you're above them, they shoot a spike upwards. They give you needle, but because they were below the stage, we can't actually get them. And here's a mini water Galboros, which is strange that they would force you to fight a mini boss, but then give you the power up later. Whatever. Anyway, I'm just gonna surf on by. You know, the water's a good power up. I'm not playing too well today, but it doesn't really matter. Bats. Invisibility crystal. Did we see one of these already? I think we did. But anyway,
I don't think we did.
maybe we didn't. Anyway, they make you invisible. You are immune to damage, and you can pass through crystal platforms. Most of the puzzles with it involve getting to an area before it breaks, because it is on a timer. It'll turn red, and then it will shatter, and then you have to go back to where it spawned. Also, these platforms you can pass through. And I accidentally head bounced. Anyway, I think this is almost the end of this stage, except I think there's a super ability section. Again, here's an example of sharp objects cut ropes, which is going to become apparent in a minute, where we need a super sharp object to cut very large ropes. Something I should mention about super enemies like that, if you kill them by, like, attacking them, they'll actually drop your power-up star, and you don't even need to inhale it, you just need to touch the power-up star.
I really try to make this game as easy as possible.
You can't lose super power-ups by taking damage, only through the timer, and the timer's fairly lenient, so there's really not any chance of you messing these up. Only the very, very last few ones have anything close to difficult power-up sections. Also, you'll notice that the sword changes what it is every time. Sometimes it's a larger version of the regular sword, sometimes it's a meat cleaver, kendo sword.
One time they use the fish.
The fish is, like, incredibly rare, though. I've never seen it. I've played through this game 3 or 4 times, I have never seen the Ultra Fish. I do know it exists, but I have never personally seen it. Hey. Also, the big golden sword with the weird prongs, that's Meta Knight's sword, that's called Galaxia. It actually got its name in the anime, which is, I guess, unique. Also, yes, there's a Kirby anime, and yes, I love it very much, despite the fact it is for baby children.
I disapprove very much.
It's what you would expect from a Kirby anime. It's really designed for very small children. You've got Kirby. Kirby's a silent protagonist. You've got really obnoxious secondary characters, but in general, it's actually relatively fun to watch. And of course, it spawns many memes, ranging from its incredibly hilarious intro to Cartoon Buffoon, inarguably the best episode, in where King Dedede tries to create his own anime, and it is terrible. Doesn't Sword have the same exploit that Fighter does with the up and then down strike?
No, yes. You can like juggle with that. Now you done. Now you done. And now we got.
I wanted to do the up and down strike, but I did a different one.
What do you think? Edit that out or just keep?
We're gonna keep it, including the screech.
Do we have to keep the screech?
Yes, we have to keep the screech. We're keeping the screech. Yep. Maybe you should have thought twice about it, huh? God, I am playing like garbage today. Also, yeah, if you spit stars back at the incoming wall, it'll retreat. The bigger the star, the further back it'll go. Something weird about Kirby games is that I actually find the infinite jump float does me more harm than good. Sometimes I want to make a jump, but if I hold down the button for too long, I'll do a float, and that's not what I want to do. And you can pretty clearly see how these are designed specifically for Kirby, and not really for your allies with infinite power-up.
Yeah, the multiplayer these are incredibly easy.
What is your phone doing, Josh? I'm gonna take Cutter this time. Cutter doesn't have as much of a chance of screwing this up, even though I dislike it. No, my power! Eh, it's fine. I can either steal one from the boss or just spit the projectile back at him. Also, yeah, Bandana D Helicopter is like the best move. You're destroying things I use as ammunition. Doesn't matter, we win. Energy spheres. There he goes. Hey, come back here, I haven't met him now.
Alright, so after this, we're gonna take on the boss. Next boss isn't too hard.
His name is Mr. Duder. It's down. I always forget, but it's down. Also, you'll notice that the super abilities are always at the end of the stage. They always produce the last 2 spheres. And they always produce 2 spheres and not 1. Just one of the things they do consistently. Also, there's never 2 super power-up stages in a row.
Yeah, I think they always do 2
2 per... Is it always 2 per...
I think.
All I know is that there was never 2 super power-ups in the same stage. That's true for a fact.
Yeah.
And then you can't take them out of stages either. I think they immediately disintegrate if you try to leave the stage with a super power-up.
Which makes sense, because they're only designed for that. Like,
Whip.
There.
I'm gonna take Whip. Water is okay, but the projectile doesn't do enough damage, and high jump is useless. Josh, I swear to God.
Yes, I know, my phone's buzzing, I'll take care of it in a sec. Oh, God.
After the end of this episode, please do something with that. Here's Mr. Duder, he's the boss of World 2. He'll throw things at you, you can destroy them. Not overall the hardest boss in the world. He does have 2 phases though, and we'll now see the second one. He'll grow larger, and he'll do this jumping attack where he jumps into the sky, and then you can see his shadow, so you know where he's falling, so it's not as hard to dodge. It's weird because this Kirby game actually does a better job of telegraphing boss attacks than some of the later games do. Punches, punches! Bombs, you can destroy them just by attacking them below him. Oh. And then he's gonna throw snakes, but he should be dead anyway, so. Whip is pretty good, so is Spear. And there is the wing. For some reason the wings have to be collected individually. The right and left wing are 2 separate items. And of course the ending dance is not at all cohesive.
Yes, as to be consistent with the other games.
Also, Josh, once again you're moving closer and further away from the mic, which is not helping your audio.
Whatever. Whatever.
I'm hoping that Lael will show up before we finish recording.
What, am I not good enough for you?
Well, we need 2 people's fine, it's just not as engaging as 3.
Whatever.
Also, the lore looks really strange with only 1 wing. It bothers me. I like symmetry. Anyway. So, hi Magolor. Yes, we did it. It has a right wing back in place. Skip through the text. So he just mentioned that he's gonna, if we can complete his starship, he'll take us to his homeland called Halkandra. And there's a lot of unnecessary lore about Halkandra. Something weird about Kirby games is that they're designed for babies, but they have like excessive amounts of in-depth and somewhat disturbing lore.
Yeah, they really go overboard.
Especially considering the end bosses of most Kirby games are literal hell demons, but whatever. So that about wraps it up for this episode. We're just sort of unlocking everything that we can. You'll notice that as we collect more energy spheres, the Star Cutter will become more and more fixed. These blocks will no longer be on the floor, the little static stuff will go away. But it'll become more noticeable as we get more of them. But that does it for... what is this, episode 4?
Episode 4.
The end of World 2. We'll be moving on to World 3 in the next episode. So, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you then.
See you next time.